we are trying for a second live stream on YouTube, and hopefully this is going to work. All right. And hopefully we'll get some sound. Hopefully we'll get some sound off of YouTube this time. Oh boy, what an adventure. What an adventure. Sound's working, all right. Awesome. Sorry about that. Again, I'm not sure what happened. Like I said, I had a lav mic plugged in, and for some reason the phone wasn't recognizing it, and then we unplugged it, and it still didn't work. So in the future, we'll just won't do the lav mic, or we'll do a shotgun mic. So for everyone here, this is a live stream. I'm going to be signing all of these, well, not all of these in one sitting, but a good chunk of these various tip-in sheets. These are for, this pile is for Forbidden Planet, which is a sci-fi bookstore in the UK. And then all of these are tip-in sheets for just the UK in general. So I've already signed a whole bunch of stuff for the US, and I've already sent a pile for Goldsboro Books also in the UK. And I'm going to be signing a whole bunch of book plates with some special designs on them, which are going to be for the events that I'm doing in the United States on my virtual tour. Which, by the way, if you don't know, I'm doing a virtual tour. It's going to be awesome, and the first 100 people who sign up for each event are going to get a signed copy of To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. Although that is, I mean, basically you're buying the book when you sign up for the event. That's the way of doing a book tour without leaving your home in today's uncertain times. So, hello from the Czech Republic. Very awesome. I'm not going to be answering questions on Facebook because we haven't figured out how to be streaming stuff. I mean, we are streaming to Facebook, but I'm not quite sure how to have those questions up at the same time. And actually, the cat is clawing at the door to my office, so we might have her in to say hi today. Good evening. Good evening to everyone who's watching. Someone's asking if I could please get a mic. Yes, we were trying to use a mic and it didn't work. Yes, the book is massive. This is the advanced reading copy. This is not the final copy of To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. The hardcover will be probably a little bit thinner, but not dramatically so. But yeah, I'm really happy to finally see this. So I'm going to start signing here and answer some questions as I go along. Someone's saying that Paolini gaming is going to be forthcoming. Well, you never know. I do game when I get the chance. The problem is that these days with the books and the touring and the interviews, I don't have a massive amount of time. Let's see. What is my favorite TV show? Good question. Probably The Prisoner, the original Prisoner, which is a show from, I'm not sure if it was the 60s or the 70s, but it's a really awesome British science fiction show that is dystopian and surreal and mind-bending and absolutely awesome. By the way, something you guys might be interested in, if you're signing a large number of, someone's asking about the painting behind me. That's a painting by Donato, who did a painting for the 10th anniversary edition of Aragon. I think this one's a painting of Red Sonja. And I've had it over my drafting table for quite a time. This is my drafting table. This is where I do a lot of the art for the inheritance cycle. And let's see, who's a better captain, Picard or Kirk? Well, Kirk's more entertaining to watch, but Picard is the one you want to serve under because he'll actually bring everyone home alive. But anyway, what I was going to say is when I'm signing this many pages, I don't use a normal pen. This might look like a normal pen, but this isn't a normal pen. This is actually a Uniball pen, and I have ripped out the inside, and I fill it with this ink, which is Noodler's Black ink. This is a fountain pen ink, and it's extremely fluid and smooth and works really well for signing this amount of things. So I can just sit here and plow through the pages, and I don't have to worry about my pen getting hung up or skipping. And then every once in a while I will refill the pen with a syringe. So this is this is actually cheaper than buying a whole bunch of pens. You know, if you buy these uniballs, I'll usually go through a pen every couple hundred pages. So buying one bottle of ink and then filling up the pen makes a lot more sense. Let's see, I'm going to skim through, grab a couple of questions here. Someone says, can I turn my mic up? Well, the problem is I'm not using a mic. We tried to use a mic and it didn't work, so we'll have that fixed next time. Let's see. Hello from Greece. Nice. Nice. Hello from Greece. Yes, a reviewer said that it's like 2 books in one. Yes, To Sleep is definitely 2 books in one. We actually debated splitting the book into 2 volumes, but I really wanted to give you guys a complete story in one book. That's why I fought to keep it in one giant volume. You could split it, but I think that the experience of reading it split up and having to wait for that second half just wouldn't be as enjoyable as getting to go through it all in one go. And that was actually something I really wanted to do with To Sleep, is write an entire story in one volume. I know I've talked about that in some other interviews recently, but it was a major goal of mine. Simply because after the inheritance cycle, I was doing, you know, a story split over 4 books, and well, that takes a lot of time. To Sleep took a lot of time too, but at least it's finished, you know? The story's done, and you guys can enjoy it, and there will be lots more to follow along with Alagasia stuff. Actually, can we get the fan turned up? Yeah. Let's see. Did I play D&D, and if so, yes. Alas, I've never played Dungeons & Dragons. I've always wanted to, but the problem is that I just don't have anyone around here to play with. And of course, growing up homeschooled, that was a bit of a problem. But I'm a big fan of the idea of D&D. I think probably for me, the biggest problem would be I would want to be the dungeon master there and DM and control it and write the backstory and create the world. And if I'm putting in that much work, I might as well just write a book. But if I ever find a good group of people nearby that are interested in that, and I have the time, I would definitely play D&D. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't something I would be interested in. Am I writing Inheritance Book 5 after To Sleep and a Sea of Stars comes out? Great question. As those of you who follow me on Twitter and elsewhere will know, I recently finished a sequel novella to Sleep, which we're not quite sure where it's going to see the light of day, but it was kind of a fun experiment to write. You will see it, and then hopefully before too long. So that's been written. I'm currently revising a prequel novella. No, not a novella, a prequel novel to Sleep. Now, I actually wrote this prequel back in, boy, I want to say 2013, 2014, something like that. And I decided I wanted to finish up To Sleep before releasing the prequel. So I'm currently revising it. It needs a fair bit of revision, but the nice thing is that it's not actually as long as To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. It's a fraction of the size. So finishing it shouldn't take me very long, and then once that's out of my hair, hopefully in the next month or two, I kind of have a free plate for the first time in years. I can really just choose to do whatever I want to do. All right, I am going to scroll down, glance at a couple of questions here. Yeah, just so everyone knows, I'm not currently answering questions off Facebook because I can't be bouncing between Facebook and YouTube here at the same time. So if you want to leave me a question, your best bet is over on YouTube. But I am probably going to answer most of your questions there on Facebook over the course of this conversation. And I am going to do this more again in the future. And the more times we do this, the easier it's going to get to figure out the technical hitches, which is surprisingly hard. Someone says, what does your workout schedule look like? You've got more swole every time I see you on social media. Aw, well, that's very nice of you. I mean, the main thing is I sit all day. You know, I'm always writing, and I have to combat that somehow. So what I try to do is every other day I usually do a heavy weights workout. And then on the in-between days, assuming I'm not too smashed from the weights, which if your programming is decent, you shouldn't be too smashed from the weights, I'm trying to do things that are a little bit more explosive. So like snatch grip, high pulls, box jumps, kettlebell swings, a little bit of sprinting maybe. Just things that are easy to recover from, build a little bit of athleticism, because that's my weak spot since I sit so much, and just generally get the blood flowing. And blood flowing is a good thing when you're a writer. But that's pretty much what I do. And I like lifting heavy things. I'm not particularly good at it, but I really like lifting heavy things, and that's my primary mode of exercise. And the weird thing is, not weird, but the difficult thing is that if I push too hard with the weights, I can't write the next day. Like if I go do a really, really heavy set of deadlifts or squats, you know, if I'm pushing up, you know, maybe my 3 rep max, but even if I'm going up to like my 1 rep max, certainly my 1 rep max, anything above, let's say 95% of that 1 rep, or yeah, anything above like 95% of my 1 rep max, I usually pay for it the next day. I get brain fog, I have trouble thinking clearly because, you know, my body's in recovery mode. So all of my exercise is structured around manageable loads of intensity and making sure that I still have enough energy to write and be productive the next day. And that's just a hard lesson I've had to learn over the years. Let's see, let's pick a couple of them. When does something with Aragon come out? Well, as I said, I'm finishing up this prequel novel, and then I would very much like to return to Alagasia. I had a blast writing The Fork, the Witch, and the Worm year before last. I was touring for it last year, and writing it left me with so much fondness for the world and the characters, and also even more ideas for what to work. By the way, we're going to keep doing this live stream for a while. As you can see, I have a lot of pages here, but we will be doing this again in the future. So let me scroll down. Boy, there are a lot of questions here. Oh, you can see Kiara. That's Kiara the Cat. She is a really awesome cat. And I'll tell you the story. She came into our lives completely unexpectedly. I was working at my desk here in my office. Not this desk, it's my other desk is over there. And one day I looked out the window and I looked down at our driveway and there was a cat curled up on one of the rocks outside along the driveway. And I thought that maybe it was from one of the neighbors. We don't have a lot of neighbors, but I thought maybe the cat ran away or something happened. So I didn't want to, just invite the cat inside, but we put some water for her outside, and after an hour or two, she was still there waiting to come inside, so we finally let her in, and she was half starved to death. She was literally half the weight that she is now. So we reported her to the Humane Society and put out notices to see if anyone was going to, claim her, because she was a house cat. She's been, she had her shots, she'd been spayed, and no one claimed her. So we're not quite sure, how she ended up abandoned, but maybe, she escaped from some tourists who kind of came through the area, or someone abandoned her on the big road down in the valley. Because the day that she arrived at our house, we were cooking, slow roasting, I want to say like a pork roast or something. And the smell of that was going down the hillside, so we think that drew Kiara to the house. And she has been an absolutely wonderful pet and writing companion. Although I will warn you, there are probably a couple of typos in To Sleep that are her fault, because she likes to put her paw up on the keyboard and she likes to just, get in the way. Any thoughts on Malazan? How can you tell if a stray cat has had its shots? Well, the fact that she had been spayed, she had the nick in her ear, and she'd obviously been a house cat. You know, we think she'd had her shots. She still got shots, but the odds are she had her shots. What do I think of Malazan? I've read the first book, and I have not gotten around to the rest of the series. It's just, you know, it's a huge commitment, and there's so many books to read. But I know the series has a dedicated fan base, and it is definitely on my list of things to read one of these days. Someone here was at my Phoenix, the event I did at the Phoenix Zoo back in, boy, I want to say that was 2008, something like that. That was a cool event. They let me meet one of the elephants in the zoo afterward, and I actually have a hair from that elephant on my desk. And the hair is so thick, it's like a wire, actually. So let's see. Will Fractalverse rival the Cosmere in size? Boy, in scope of ambition, I would say yes. In my imagination, it will rival the Cosmere. In actual practice, probably not, just because although I'm a decently fast writer, Brandon has me beat by ages, so I think there'll be many more books in the Cosmere. But in terms of the scope of what you'll find into Sleep and the future books in the Fractalverse, then definitely yes. And actually, I don't know if you can see this on the live streams, but let's see. You can see there's the logo. It says a Fractalverse novel underneath that logo. Yeah, so really cool. And actually, since I have all of you here, I'm going to go ahead and give you a very short reading. I'm going to read you guys the first sentence of the book. So this is chapter 1. Chapter 1 is titled Dreams, section 1 of chapter 1. The orange gas giant, Zeus, hung low above the horizon, huge and heavy and glowing with a ruddy half-light. It goes on from there. Let's see, someone says you've pre-ordered To Sleep, you really hope you like it, and you're not into science fiction. Well, you know, it's funny you mention that, because one of my goals in writing To Sleep was to write a book that someone who doesn't enjoy science fiction would hopefully enjoy, and someone who does read science fiction would also hopefully enjoy. It is maybe sometimes a problem with the science fiction genre, and also the fantasy genre, that some of the books, some of the stories can end up so full of jargon that it's hard to read them. So I learned a lot in writing the Inheritance cycle, and I tried to apply that to the Inheritance, to Sleep, and make it so that whether or not you are a sci-fi fan, you will find things understandable, enjoyable, and if you are a sci-fi fan, there is lots of deep information that you can delve into, specifically like a lot of the technology and stuff like that. I'm sure many of you have heard about all the time I spent working on the faster than light travel system for this book, which even I sometimes get lost in the intricacies of it, which is something I want to explore a lot more in future stories. But it's also not something I want to bore people with, you know. Just because you have a cool technology doesn't mean you need to sit down with the audience and spend 5 pages talking about it. You know, an example of this would be if you're writing a book in the real world and someone shoots a gun. You don't stop and explain all the mechanics of how a firearm works, because that's kind of ridiculous. It's, you know, the character already knows that, so why are you telling that to the reader? Now you can get away with it sometimes, like I remember Tom Clancy in one of his books had a nuclear bomb going off, and he stops in the middle of the story to explain how the bomb works in a mechanical way, and he did it in an entertaining fashion. It kept your interest, or kept my interest, and kept the tension high, which just goes to prove there is no one way to write, and there are no hard and fast rules. You know, execution is everything. So if you have the skill to make something work, you can usually do it. But that's the hard thing. And then, of course, Since art is so subjective and writing is so subjective, you might think you've made something work and your readers might disagree. So, let's see. Lots and lots of questions here. There's a question here about the German edition of To Sleep, which is going to be published in 2 volumes, and they're asking when the second volume is going to be out. I think it's either the same time or just a month or 2 after the first volume. I'll have to check and I will tweet that information. Yeah, the book is so big in German, they had to split it into 2 volumes, and they're doing it in 2 volumes in Italian and I think maybe one other country. I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but at least 2 countries are doing double volumes, which means that my storage area is just going to get completely filled up. It was already filled up with inheritance cycle books, and now I'm at the point where I might have to build a small warehouse to keep all these editions, because I have actually kept every single edition of every one of my books. And if you know that the inheritance cycle has been published in over 50 countries and languages, and most of those countries and languages have done multiple editions over the years, and then they send 10 copies of every edition, it adds up fast. It adds up fast. About 5 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that, we actually went through our collection and collected a whole bunch of the foreign editions and donated them to some libraries to help foreign students and local students who are trying to learn those languages. So they actually would have something to read in those languages. Hopefully they actually enjoyed fantasy, you know, and it wasn't, they weren't all groaning and saying, oh no, now I have to read Aragon in Spanish. How do we know if we are one of the 100 to get a signed book plate at the virtual events? If you register with one of the virtual events on my tour, you know, you will definitely get that if you're able to register successfully. If you have a question, you can always contact the bookstore, and they can help you figure that out. The tour is going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually going to be talking with a whole bunch of interesting people. I'm trying to think what I can tell you, because I think there's one announcement that hasn't been made. But yeah, John Scalzi's going to be part of the tour. Brandon Sanderson. And of course, I'm doing a similar thing in the UK. I'm going to be doing events with Adrian Tchaikovsky and let me get her name right now, because I would hate to mispronounce someone's name. Let's see, Arcady Martin, I believe that's how you say your name, who just won the Hugo for Best Sci-Fi Book this year. We're going to be doing an event together, and a couple others. By the way, I'm not trying to offend anyone with names. I'm horrible with names. I'm really good with faces. If I saw your face at a convention years ago, I'll probably remember it, but I am horrible with names. And I think it might be because I've done so many events over the years that at a certain point my brain just gave up on remembering names. But I'm good with faces. I'm good with faces. Alright, will pre-order copies be signed? Yes, some of them are. I've signed like 14,000 of them. So if you go to my website, paolini.net, and we have some links here in the description. Well, we will have some links in the description of this live signing. And also the top, my pinned tweet on Twitter has pre-order information. And a number of those places are letting you pre-order signed copies. I think, well, I don't want to show preference towards one store or another, but a number of them are. So if you go to my website, paolini.net, that has information. Do they have a Portuguese translation? I'm not sure. I'll have to check on that for you. What is better for you, Inheritance or To Sleep in a Sea of Stars? I love them both equally, and they do different things. They do different things. Inheritance was the end of the inheritance cycle, and I love it for that. And this baby is just a new stage of my career and represents a new challenge that I set to myself. and hopefully you guys will enjoy it as much or even more than Aragon and others. Let's see. Oh, this is an interesting question. How did I sign with Tor? Well, because To Sleep in a Sea of Stars is an adult novel, we needed to find a publisher, a new imprint for it. For those who don't know, my previous books were published by the children's division of Alfred A. Knopf, which is an imprint of Random House, and I've had a wonderful, wonderful experience with them over the years. But they publish young adult and children's books, so To Sleep really wasn't their thing. So we had to look for a new imprint, and of course lots and lots of people were interested, and Tor was the most enthusiastic and the most interested, and it seemed like they really wanted to give the book a good home. And I've been very, very happy with all the people I've worked with at Tor. They've done an amazing job with the book, and in fact, what you can't see from the soft cover here is that in the hardcover, this is going to all be like metallic, blue metallic foil, and it's going to look awesome. And there are 7 pieces of art in the book. There's maps. We really worked very hard to produce a good, beautiful experience for all of you. How much do you write a day? Well, that depends. When I'm not doing live streams like this, I try to aim for about 1,000 to 2,000 words a day, and I just try to get that as consistently as I can. Because you write 2,000 words a day, and if you do that every day of the year, you will be publishing as much as Brandon Sanderson or Stephen King. So 1,000 to 2,000 words a day is a good amount, but I can only do that if I have everything plotted out beforehand. And if I need to have a nice quiet area and just a good writing environment. Let's see, are the copies that I signed hard copies? Yes, all of these sheets that I'm signing now and all of the sheets that I've signed in the past, these actually go to the printer and they get slipped into the hardcovers. I don't know if you can see this, but these actually have the logo for Forbidden Planet on them, and I have a pile over there with the logo of Goldsboro, and this is actually just what the regular title sheet looks like. So, except this one says signed by the author, so that's awesome. All right. How much coffee do I drink? Less than I used to. Believe it or not, I'm actually on decaf these days, and the reason is I love coffee too much. And unfortunately, I'm very sensitive to it, and so if I drink a couple of cups a day or more, I get extremely dehydrated because it's hard for me to drink enough water with the coffee. So I'm on decaf, which is working better, and I've noticed that I don't have as much of the up and down throughout the day, but I do love coffee. Someone's asking, did Galbatorix have any hobbies? Oh, hey, Mark. Let's see, wait, what was the rest of that question? And if Gunterra decided to fight Galbatorix, could Galbatorix beat Gunterra? Well, I'm not going to answer the question about Gunterra, because that's a no comment question. As far as hobbies of Galbatorix, I sort of imagine that he was an extremely driven man. And his hobbies were world domination, romantic walks along the beach, and tormenting his pet dragon. So, general nice things like that. I would imagine that also that because he felt like he worked very hard, it's the old work hard, play hard sort of thing, and he would probably indulge in a number of pleasures of the flesh, if you will, when he wasn't busy plotting world dominance. And actually, one thing that I didn't get to talk about as much in the Inheritance Cycle is the reason Galbatorix allowed Serta and the elves and the dwarves and everyone else to basically exist in peace for almost a century is that once Galbatorix had defeated the Riders and knew that he was safe, he was safe in Urubane, he wasn't about to get toppled, he realized that there was a greater threat to his power, and that was the name of the ancient language, the name of names. And that's actually where he was putting all of his time and energy into, was trying to find that particular name, because that was the one piece of magic that he thought could defeat him. So I want to write something about that at some point, but we shall see. As with all things, time and energy is the limiting factor. Let's see. Will I be going to conventions like Dragon Con once they start back up again? Possibly, as long as it's safe. I'll definitely be going. I've been playing things extremely conservatively this year, since I was traveling every month of the year last year, including going to Europe. And the downside of that is that I got basically sick every month of last year, which, you know, it was fine. It was a price I was willing to pay to get to meet so many awesome people, have such a great experience, but it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. So, especially with current events, I'm really playing it safe. Let's see. Is the name just a nice sounding sentence or somehow connected to the story? I assume we're talking about To Sleep and Sea of Stars. The title does most definitely connect to the story. It also is in the story and is one of the main reasons why I actually wrote this book. The sentiment of the title is a large reason why I wrote this book. What got me into writing? Basically, I liked reading, and I wasn't in school, I didn't have a job, and I wanted to create the sort of book that I would enjoy reading myself. Now, if I had the option to go fly dragons and fight monsters instead, I probably would have done that. But instead, I got into writing, and it just took over my life, which is a good lesson for you. You should be careful what you do as a hobby and what you do in your free time, because if you get good at it, it might end up becoming the thing you do as your main job, which can be its own challenge. I've heard Patrick Rothfuss talk about this, and I completely agree that going from something that's your hobby, something that you just love doing all on its own, to then treating it as your day job is a big shift. And probably the biggest challenge in it is to find ways to keep it enjoyable, so that, you know, whatever it is you loved about writing as a hobby is something you still love about it when it's your job. And that takes some work. You know, it does take some work. But if you can do it, it's definitely worthwhile. Let's see, what else have we got here? How do I feel about fan art? I love fan art. I love seeing fan art. I've posted a ton of it over the years. I collect it. So I love seeing fan art. I'm really kind of curious what sort of fan art I'm going to see with To Sleep. Although, as you may have heard me joking about the tentacles in the book, I'm slightly scared about the sort of fan art I'm going to see on this book. What is my writing setup like? Well, I work on a laptop. But I do write all of my notes by hand with a fountain pen. And I'm not trying to be pretentious, it's just that fountain pens cause me less hand strain than ballpoints, roller balls, or Sharpies. So I write with a fountain pen by hand. I do all of my finished fiction work on a computer, on a laptop. So I have a desk that I work at, but I often take the laptop away from the desk and work on a sofa or on the floor or somewhere else. I do work in MS Word, and I find that works pretty well for me because MS Word is pretty customizable. And let's see. How much does my right hand hurt? None, not at all. I have a cast iron right hand, so, you know, I can sign thousands and thousands of pages and it doesn't do anything. I am going to apologize again for the quality of the sound, everyone. Sorry about that. We did have this mic hooked up, but it wasn't working. So, actually, you know what? Let's try hooking it up just for the heck of it. We're going to try one more time. Let me know if we lose sound for a second. And can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Are we still good with the sound? Yes! All right! Is the sound better? All right, should have tried that ages ago. Well, as I said, folks, this is a learning experience. What color would a white dragon have? Probably not white, just because it would reflect too much light. But it might be more of like a very clear blue or pale color. What was my thought on the Aragon? What was my thought on the Aragon movie? Boy, that's an interesting question. That was an interesting question. Does it sound about the same? Well, anyway, my thoughts on the Aragon film are as follows. I am delighted that a film was made because so few books are ever adapted into film, and the movie introduced an awful lot of people to the series that wouldn't have otherwise read the books. That said, the film did reflect the vision of the story that the director and studio and screenwriter had. I gave as much input as I could, but ultimately, as I said, it was their vision. And hopefully, in the future, we will get a remake or a reboot at this point. I've certainly been pushing for that. There are some hopeful signs in the future, but I can't say anything more than that at the moment. Sound is the same, but fine. Okay, I think that we do not have I don't think we have this mic working, so we will have to figure that out after the fact. We might have the wrong connector hooked up to it, so we'll try that tomorrow. Let's see. Do I think my book is a good introduction to science fiction? You're darn right I do. What is my favorite Aragon character? Probably Saphira. She's the reason I wrote the series. But after that, Elva, because she's just so wonderfully creepy to write. Arya, Nasawada. There's a lot of fun characters. So let me see. Let's see, what else? We have the audio, so we're on a different stream.
We can't get it on our Twitter.
All right. What is my favorite science fiction? Well, it's probably a bit cliche to say it, but Dune. I love the world that was created and all of the the world, the feel of the language, Dune's awesome. So it's not perfect, I would never say that, but it is awfully good. And I do love a lot of other science fiction. The Hyperion series by Dan Simmons. Let's see, Wild Seed by Octavia Butler. Trying to think of this while I'm signing is a bit of an exercise. Let's see, what do I think of video games as a storytelling medium? I think they're a great storytelling medium. They're different than books, they're different than movies, but I do think that they are pretty awesome. The Mass Effect series is one of my favorite experiences in video game storytelling. And of course, we were extremely lucky to get none other than Jennifer Hale, who did the female version of Commander Shepard. She is reading the audiobook of To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. And I recently tweeted out, and it was released, an excerpt from the audiobook where she was reading, and I don't know what you guys thought, but I sure thought she's doing an amazing job. She really captured the feel I was going for with the main character, Kiara. Let's see. Yes, I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite book on the Citadel. Let's see. Have I ever thought of doing a comic spin-off or variant of Aragon? Yes, and it's something that I want to do. It's just a question of time, there's only so much time per day, and I gotta balance what I can do with what I want to do. Let's see. All right. Will I ever do a collaboration with another author? Probably not. Well, actually, I have done a collaboration You know, I did a collaboration with my sister, who wrote the middle story in The Fork, the Witch, and the Worm, the collection of short stories set in Alagasia. And that was a lot of fun, but I might do some more in the future. But usually I have a very specific idea. I usually have a very specific idea for my stories, and working with someone else would, I don't know if that would actually help or hinder that process, quite honestly. But I've never really read anyone who sort of writes exactly the way I would want to write, so that would probably be a learning experience also. Someone asks, am I working on Murtagh's point of view? I've not forgotten. I do want to do something from Murtagh's point of view. Let's see. How did I come up with Galbatorix's name? Well, I have a couple of books on mythology and history, and one of them had a couple of real kings. I think they were Gaulish kings or Celtic kings. I can't remember. It's been too long. And one had Galba as the first part of his name, and the other had Torix as the last part. Yeah, Galba was the first part, and then the other one had Torix as the end part of his name. And the translations I read said that Galba meant big, and Torix meant king. So 15-year-old me, 16-year-old me said, awesome, I'm going to combine them and have the big king. And that's where Galbatorix came from. And personally, even if the translation isn't really accurate, I do love the sound of the name. It's a good villain name, good strong name. Have I seen Peaky Blinders? I have not. I've heard good things though. Let's see, do I watch anime? Depends how you define anime. I've seen a few things though. Saw One Punch Man, watched a bit of Attack on Titan. So, you know, a couple things. Let's see. Would I like to live in Alagasia? Probably not. I think the characters would be a little angry at me for what I've done to them, all the horrible things I put them through. But if I were there, I'd go live with the dwarves, since I have a rather dwarvish beard these days, and I would write dwarvish opera. Do I like Alien? Yes, Alien was a major influence on me, and of course Aliens, so definitely. I'm not a fan of horror movies, or horror in general, but I like Alien because it has a reason for the horror, and it feels more mythic than horror in a lot of ways. Plus, Ripley's just one of the best characters out there. Would I finish a series that is not my own? No, I would not. Not unless there were truly extraordinary circumstances. Let's see. How do you publish your books and market them in other countries? Well, in my case, that's taken care of for me by my agent and publisher who negotiates all this with the foreign publishers, and then they promote the books in those countries. I'm making a dent in this pile. Getting there. So we actually have a lot of plans for the Fractalverse and merch and a whole bunch of other stuff that's going to, I think, keep you guys excited, and things that I think you are going to enjoy. I had a number of years where I wasn't able to really produce the way I wanted, and the past couple of years I have, which is why we had Fork, Witch, Worm at the beginning of last year, and now we have To Sleep in this year, and hopefully we will continue that run moving forward. Unless something very, very large goes wrong, I can't see taking as long to write another book as I did with To Sleep. So, but you never know. You know, the things that you learn from one book do not always help you write another book. It is always a learning experience. No, I've not seen Hamilton. Any tips for beginning writers? Well, the first one would be to read a lot, but that's probably not a problem for all of you. The second tip would be to learn everything you can about the language you're writing in, since that is the tool of the trade. And toward that end, I would highly recommend a book called Style by F.L. Lucas. And that is a great style book. It's better than The Elements of Style by Stormton White. So Style by F.L. Lucas. And then I would say always plot out your stories beforehand so that you know what you're trying to write. In fact, you should, let's see how I normally have a piece of scrap paper here. Here's a piece of scrap paper. You should know your story well enough that you should be able to tell it to someone before you ever, and have it make sense, before you ever try to write it. All right, I am dropping things here, folks. And I got my syringe. All right, I'm going to pick this up. Ah. Okay, there we go. Plot your stories out beforehand. That's all I'm trying to say. It really makes a big difference. It helps you know where you're going. And if you can't sit down and tell someone your story and have it make sense before you start writing, what's going to happen is you're going to have to figure it out as you write. And I can tell you from experience that that doesn't work too well, and you'll end up doing a ton of work in revision. And if you want to do this professionally, you should look for every way to reduce the amount of work possible, or at least to make it more efficient. So I have refilled my pen. In addition to those tips, I would say write every day, because it's like playing a musical instrument or exercise. You want to practice, you want to get good. And then, let's see, I'll put that over there. And then write about whatever it is you love the most. You know, whether it's deep philosophical questions, whether it's action and adventure, whether it's romance. You know, whatever it is that touches you the most, that's what you should be writing about. And the reason for that is that writing is a marathon, not a sprint. And so when you are when you are deep into that marathon, it's going to be your love of the material that keeps you going, that sustains you, that makes it possible for you to actually finish the product. At least that's my experience. And again, take all of this with a grain of salt. You know, every author finds a different method that works for them. I found mine. Brandon Sanderson has found his. Marie Brennan's found hers. You know, everyone finds their own. So, but that's what's worked for me. And then I've talked about this before, but a really big one is to not feel like you're a bad writer just because you wrote a bad sentence, or just because you wrote a bad paragraph, or a bad character, or a bad scene, or even a bad draft. Because you know what? You can't fix what doesn't exist. And every single author, every single published author, if they're worth their salt, they're still going back over their work and they're ripping apart those bad sentences and they're ripping apart those bad scenes. I mean, you can go see examples of Stephen King's work and my work and all sorts of other people who've been publishing for a long time. And even experienced authors still get a lot of editing, or they edit their own work a lot. So writing a bad sentence does not make you a bad writer. Not being willing to fix it and not being willing to learn from it, that's what will make you a bad writer. And if I had known that when I was starting out, that really would have made a big difference, you know? That really would have helped me. I struggled with that a lot back in the day. I was always feeling like just because I wrote something that had to be fixed, that I'd done something wrong. And that's not the case. Because as long as you fix it, you've gotten to where you're trying to go. And I guess that's the big thing is, you know, don't get hung up on the path so much, as long as the path is leading you to where you're trying to get to. So on my end, I've realized that a large part of my writing process is plotting things out, it's revision, it's, you know, putting in those hours and hours of work, and that's just fine. That's just my process. So I'm not going to get stressed about it. Long answer to a short question. How long will this last? Well, have you seen the pile of papers in front of me? I could keep signing this until my phones die here, filming with phones. But we'll probably wrap this up at the top of the hour and give it a break for today, and I will keep signing after. Let's see if we can do a couple more questions here. Was there a specific disease that inflicted Ormus? Yes, but I'm not prepared to discuss it today. Do I think the sequel to Sleep will be as big as To Sleep? Probably not, but you never know. To Sleep is about as big as I ever want to write a book. Favorite fantasy novel? No way I could pick just one. Wow, there's so many questions coming in. It's like it's actually difficult to read them. Oh boy. See, no, I've not read Ascension by Brent Clay. It's been on the list though. How did I know I had the talent for writing? Well, I don't know if talent's the right word. I had the interest in writing. So I'd say if you have an interest in writing and people are willing to read your work and buy your books, then you've got a talent for writing. I just knew that it was something I wanted to do, and people did seem interested in writing the books. But I'll tell you something, I didn't actually feel like I was an author until my third book, Brissinger, was published. Because, the first book came out and I thought to myself, well, that's nice, but, it could be a fluke. And then it was the second book and it was like, well, that's nice, but it could still be a fluke. And it was only once the third book came out that I really started to feel like, yeah, I guess I really am an author by profession. And of course, even after the inheritance cycle, then I was still feeling to myself like, well, I've done the inheritance cycle, now I need to prove I can do something completely separate, completely different, and I feel like I really have done that with To Sleep. Do I often change my glasses? Believe it or not, these are not the same glasses you have seen me with over the years. I just have a style that I prefer, and my prescription is so strong that I actually can't use rimmed glasses, or the glasses are just going to be too thick for me. So this is the style that works with my prescription. Let's see, fantasy recommendations. Well, I read Kings of the Wild last year, I think, and enjoyed it. I'm currently reading a fantasy novel whose author I can't remember, and it's an ARC, but I'm probably going to blurb it, so I'll let you guys know about that because I'm enjoying it. I'm trying to think what else I've read recently. I read The Doors of Eden by Adrian Tchaikovsky, although that is sci-fi, but I did read his novel Spiderlight, which is fantasy, which had some interesting ideas in it. How old are the oldest elves in Algasia, and what is their state mentally and physically? Mentally, they're a bit strange, and they are very old, but that's something, again, I want to explore in a future story. What are the 7 words that Brahm whispered to Aragon? Those are the subjects of another story. How would I finish 2020 if it was my story? You do not want me to finish 2020 if it were my story. It would probably be very dramatic and very explosion-filled, and but probably very exciting, so who knows. Let's see. Yeah, so for people who, the 1 or 2 people who perhaps don't know, To Sleep in a Sea of Stars is going to be releasing on September 15th, so just a bit more than a month, and it will be available wherever books are sold. And I have to say, I am so excited for everyone to be reading it. It's actually kind of weird because there are these advanced reading copies out there, and people are reading it and leaving reviews on like Goodreads and stuff, but it's not actually published yet. So I'm really, really excited for it to finally to be in your hands and to be able to talk about it and provide a lot more spoilery, behind-the-scenes information, perhaps when doing some of these signings. Let's see. Will To Sleep have a Hebrew translation? Perhaps. I'm not sure if there's one in the works at the moment, but I'll check on that. Do I use any plotting or world building software? No. I mean, really, all you need to plot or world build is just a notebook and a couple of text files. So I don't use any specialized software. I do my research, but no specialized files. Why is the audiobook CD? The audiobook will be in many forms. You can get it as a digital download, I believe. You can also get it CD. To give you an idea of the size, the audiobook for Inheritance was 22 CDs, and To Sleep is 26. Now, of course, different audiobook readers read at different speeds, but that gives you an idea of the size difference. And I actually did an hour-long interview with the audiobook reader Jennifer Hale, which got edited down to about 20 minutes or so, and that's actually going to be included as an extra on audiobooks. So you'll get to hear the two of us talking about, what it was like for her to read the audiobook, some cool stuff for me about what it was like to write the darn thing, and hopefully you guys will get to enjoy that also. Let's see. Yes, I'm looking forward to the Dune remake. World building and character development go hand in hand. You can't really separate them, and you shouldn't separate them. Do I like Michael Crichton? I do. I really enjoyed The 13th Warrior, and of course Jurassic Park is classic. Was it different writing from a woman's point of view? Well, I've done it in the past. I had, chapters from Nasuada's point of view in Inheritance Cycle, and Saphira, although I'm not sure if she counts. But writing a whole book from a woman's point of view, I mean, she's a character like any others, and I was just doing my best to do justice to Kiara, and hopefully readers will agree with that. So I think we're going to wrap this. Up. Yes, I got a note here. It reminded me of something. So I actually haven't tweeted or anything about this, but I had, let me pull up the name here so I don't get this wrong. Let's see. So I actually had an interview with with Tim over on the awesome YouTube channel called Hello Future Me. And I'll be tweeting and promoting that. You'll be able to see that on my social media. But it's an hour-long interview with him talking about world building and all sorts of other stuff. So again, the channel's called Hello Future Me. And if you guys are interested, you can go check that out. So I've signed a decent pile of paper here. I'm probably going to sign some more, but we've been doing this for about an hour. Hopefully I've answered a good chunk of your questions. I think we're going to wrap this up. We will do this again in the near future, now that we've sorted a couple of the technical mishaps out, and we'll get the microphone stuff sorted out also, and we will do this again soon. So thank you everyone who watched. Thank you for all your comments here and on Facebook, and as always, thank you so much for reading the books, and I hope you enjoy To Sleep in a Sea of Stars as much or even more.